This is a submission from Turk10mm. Turk10mm messaged me on YouTube videos to mention, very politely, mind you, that I had missed his post, and I don't know how I did that. I do apologize for that. I try to catch them all, but especially since I often have several days in between when I do them, yeah, I can't. I have a link right here with all the ones I need to get to. And when I read the thread and I see one pop up, I add it to the folder. But I guess I must have missed you, or I don't know what. So my apologies, and now let's give it a go. You are flying a Vortex 250, and I'm going to take a side trip here and say I I'm a little bit of a snob, and I try to tone it down, and I realize that is a character flaw in me. But like, I like building my own copters. I'm proud of them. And when I see RTF copters, I firmly believe that whatever gets you flying, more power to you. But on some level, a tiny bit deep down, I'm like, ooh, you bought an RTF. Okay. But a friend of mine in the local flight club has a Vortex Pro. You've got a Vortex 250. I don't know if you have a Vortex Pro. Oh, you do. I see that now. It's a really good copter. I mean, it's a commercial product, an RTF. It flies really good, and it goes together pretty decently, and I don't have a single bad thing to say about it. So kudos. You've picked a good copter. If you're gonna buy an RTF mini quad, I think the Vortex Pro is the best one to get. I haven't seen another one out there that I think really just unabashedly owns the title of an RTF mini quad racing quad. There are others out there, like I think there's one from Eachine, and they're okay, but they're not as good as some you might build yourself. This one is just there's no compromises with the 250 Pro. It's just a really good uh 250 mini quad. So anyway, there's your plug. Lumineer, pay me. No, I don't get it. They sent me some of that stuff one time, but they didn't send me a Vortex. But I just sincerely think it's pretty good. So there's your plug. Now let's get to your actual, what you wanted. You are going to the Dow 5x4, 5x3 bullnose blades. Those are very aggressive blades. You have 2300 kV motors, and they can handle those, I believe. Are they 2205? I think they must be 2205s, not 2204s. But they should be all right. Generally, when you go to more aggressive props, you have to reduce your P gain. That's the first thing that you do. If you like radically change the prop, you may have to make more changes. You don't have to change the I gain at all, because the I gain is a relatively long sort of time window over which it works, and the differences in the props sort of average out. It would have to be a really radical difference, like more radical than just changing the props. Like maybe if you went from 4S to 6S, you might have to like adjust your I term, because it's such a radical change in power. But in general, if you're just changing your props, say from a 2-blade to a 3-blade, you just drop your P. When I go from King Kong 5040 2-blade to a Dow TJ 5045 3-blade, I start to get noticeably more P-term oscillation, especially during prop wash scenarios, or when I drop the throttle and then punch it again when they have to spin back up again. And if I drop the P gains by 0.2 or maybe 0.3 at most, and then it just settles right in and it flies great. So that's just a general guideline for switching props. Let's take a look at your specific tune, though. And the first thing we'll do is we'll just go to your gyro and do a general health check. And everything looks good. Thin lines on the gyro, no complaints here. Nothing jumps out as, well, we got to look at that. Okay, so that's a good start. Now we'll go to roll. My first thought off the bat is that your D gain is too high here. Now, there are people who prefer to fly with higher D gain. Like there was a discussion on this thread a while back, not too long ago actually, from somebody who had to raise D gain to get rid of bounce back after flips and rolls. Oh no, it was on the beta flight thread. But then the problem was he broke a prop one day and the copter just took off, and he had to cut the throttle completely and drop it out of the air. And the problem was that the D gain was oscillating like crazy, and as soon as the additional noise of the broken prop got added to the system, the D gain just that was it. That was too much for it, and it flipped out, and the throttle just kept rising and rising and rising, okay? So in general, especially if you haven't sort of perfectly locked your tune in yet, I would want to see less D-term noise. See how all this back and forth. The magnitude of the D-term is very large relative to the P-term, and there's a ton of back and forth high frequency noise. You could lock in your P-term and then start working up your D gains and your P gains to try and refine the copter's tuning to the nth degree. And maybe by the time you got done doing that, you would find that in fact this is what you want your D-term to look like. I don't usually want mine to look like this, but I respect the difference of opinion that some pilots have, that that's what works for them. But you shouldn't be at this point with your D-term if you're not really sure you've got your P gains very, very close to where you want them. So this is more noise than I would want to see on the D-term. And because of this noise, it's going to be very difficult to assess the health of the P-term because the D-term is so much pulling the gyro and the P-term around. Nevertheless, let's get rid of the D-term and just take a look at what we see. Hard to judge. Yeah, hard to judge. See, when I see this movement like this, it doesn't look classically like a P-term surging. It's the D-term imposing itself on the gyro, which then imposes itself on the P-term. They sort of are affecting each other. And it's hard to judge whether your P-term is correct based on that. Let's look at your pitch axis. Yeah, again, I would reduce the D. So, yeah, way too much. Way too much D gain. I really feel like that's very strongly about that. So, back to basics. What I would do if you've got a Pro Tune that works, I would start by taking your D gain down. Hang on, let me pause the video and see if I can find what the values are for Umagod's Pro Tune. Yeah, so unfortunately I couldn't find a printout of what the values are for Umagod's Pro Tune, so I didn't look super hard, but I didn't find it off the bat. So just speaking from a tuning perspective, let's say that you want to drop your D gains down to half of what they are, at least, maybe 25%. I don't know if they're 10 or if they're 40. So, but I'd say drop them to half of what they are, and then take your P gains, and assuming you're on the rewrite controller and not Lux Flute, if you're on rewrite, do you say? You don't say. Well, if you were on rewrite, I would say knock your P gains down by about 0.3 if you're going from like a 2-blade to a 5x4, 5x3 bullnose, and see if do some testing to see if the P gains are then in the right ballpark. By do some testing, I mean first do full throttle punch, look for oscillations, listen for oscillations. If no oscillations occur there, then full throttle or high throttle punch, climb out 50 feet, 100 feet, cut the throttle, fall until you pick up some speed, and then aggressively raise the throttle to arrest the fall. Don't be gentle about it. You don't have to go nuts, but don't be gentle about it, and feel for vibrations there. Now, what you're looking for is there will be some oscillation under almost every condition, okay? But what you want is an oscillation that kind of goes, and then settles. And what you don't want is an oscillation that kind of builds on itself, like, okay, so there's some more of me making sound effects, okay? It should sort of rise and then quickly settle, right? It should be sort of a blip, but if it sort of rises and then gets worse, and then gets maybe even worse, and sort of like it's cascading, that means the P gain is too high, okay? Same thing you could do is you could do a fast pass and then a sharp 180 turn. Cut the throttle, sharp 180 turn. Now you're flying backwards briefly, and then raise the throttle to go the next direction. We could call that a pylon turn. Again, you might get a brief sort of oscillation, a prop wash oscillation, but if it's sort of more than just a very brief oscillation and it kind of starts to build, then I would say the P gain is too high. Okay, there you go. Hope that's helpful, and happy flying.